The prison population is in a control paradigm of retaliation, not rehabilitation. It's in a control paradigm of what can I do while I got them to make sure that they'll never have full expression of their humanity, whether they're here or whether they're on the outside. It's also a punitive one, not an embracing one for people who have come as immigrants. And so, while King was talking about he had a dream, and some of us have been engaged in supporting the DREAM Act, there are others who have been creating nightmares. All right. And so it's time for us to quit studying just the I have a dream speech, but start looking at what King really said about this nation. And we're at a place now where even though we have a black president, the Bible teaches us that it is about power and principality. And so he is presiding over a system of power and principality which still supports the Patriot Act of 2001, which is increasing the capacity of this government to remove us, to deny us our freedom, and to shut us down and shut us up. Now, I am not one to be going around the nation trying to give you dramatic hype. I am not paranoid. I'm standing on fact. And because I'm standing on fact, I see clear and compelling signs that we are in a fight for our life. I see clear and compelling signs that we are engaged in ethnic cleansing. Same kind you saw in the Bible. I see clear and compelling signs that we are talking about genocide. And I don't have any problem talking about it because the signs are clear and compelling. The numbers say it all. Anytime you have one of three men representing your people under a system and powers and principalities that is related to the prison industrial complex to come at will and take your son in the prime of their procreation life. You can do the statistics yourself and project what's about to happen. So we are in a dangerous situation that if we don't wake up and act up and act out and stand on our conviction, we aren't going to be here no more. 40 years ago, Chancellor Williams wrote a book called The Destruction of Black Civilization. He was looking at this question of what do we need to know and do differently in terms of the great glorious African civilizations. What happened? He began that book with a very short story, a narrative, the way we do with the Bible narrative. He said there was a young man who saw an old man on the road, and the young man said to the old man, can you tell me what happened to the people of Sumer? I understand that they were once a great civilization. The old man said, yeah, I can tell you what happened to them. They forgot to tell their history. And so their children didn't know where they were. And they allowed any road to take them there. All right. And so we've got to make a commitment, not just to dismantle the system of mass incarceration, we got to teach our children how to navigate it despite it. So it's not enough for us to just fight the external forces. We've got to understand that our children need to be educated as to how to avoid being a part of it. And so a few months ago when Corporations of America sent out a call to all of the state's governors and said, we will buy your prisons on two conditions. You make sure we get to control them for 25 years, and you also allow and make sure that they stay 99% occupied. We started a campaign with the United Methodist Church, and out of that campaign, we have been quite successful right now to kind of halt that movement. But we aren't crazy, because that corporation is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. People are making money off of putting us in prison. And so our movement is called, and I know in the interest of time I need to move on, and so I'm going to honor that pink, yellow, whatever color sign it is. That the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference has been advancing this movement called Occupy the Heart to be free at last. And we're grateful to Michelle Alexander for the gift of her mind, her body, and her spirit to this group.
Yes.
And we've done work all over the nation. We've convened meetings such as this. We've developed a study guide for adults, a study guide for young people for Michelle's book. We've developed a digital platform and videos and so forth. And we're getting ready, and this is where I need your support, we're getting ready to hold state hearings all across this country. And we need people who will both serve as commissioners to hear testimony and those who will testify in areas that help us to inform not just our people, but eventually public policy, have an impact on public policy at the national level. Now, I'm not telling nobody how to vote, but I want to read this to you that Romney recently said. He said, I understand how difficult it can be for an African American in today's society. You see, in fact, I can relate to black people very well indeed. My ancestors once owned slaves, and it is in my lineage to work closely with the black community. However, just because they were freed over a century ago doesn't mean they can now be freeloaders. They need to be told to work hard, and the incentives just aren't there for them anymore. When I'm president, I plan to work closely with the black community to bring a sense of pride and work ethic back into view for them. So that's the spirit of Mitt Romney. But we're called by the spirit of Martin King. And he said, listen here, a true revolution of values will soon look uneasily on the glaring contrast of poverty and wealth. With righteous indignation, it will look across the seas and see individual capitalists of the West investing huge sums of money in Asia, Africa, and South America, only to take the profits out with no concern for the social betterment of the countries, and they say this is not just. It will look at our alliance with the landed gentry of Latin America and say this is not just. A true revolution of values will lay hands on the world order and say of war, this way of settling differences is not just. So today, as we plan to walk out of here, let us plan to expose those who are propagating the racism and the greed which is keeping us down. We are at ground zero, and the future of the world is in our hands. I want to thank you because we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Jesus said, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Come on, come on. Let my people vote.